Hi, Ritu. So
Hello.
just to start the session, I would like to now invite Ms. Ritu Marya. Just a very brief introduction, although everybody knows Ritu. Ritu is editor-in-chief for Franchise India Media Group. Franchise India Media, with its leadership publications and properties, The Franchising World, Entrepreneur India, and APAC, and Retailer, among others, is the largest B2B media group in the country. I would like Ritu to share her thoughts and insights and open the summit. Thank you very much, and let's welcome Ritu. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Venus, and very good morning to all the participants. I see there are close to about 150 participants. I'm not taking the video on as the connection is not very stable, but I would love to talk to all of you. Thank you to Venus and to the Action Coach team for giving me this opportunity to come and speak to all of you this morning. As I said, my voice may just go off for a little while, but I'll try my best, given that the fact that we are all sitting in the confine of our homes and using the same internet. So there can be problems, but I'll try to make sure that it doesn't go away. So what I'm really going to talk about today morning is something that probably all of you are reading extensively, discussing amongst your peers extensively. But I thought, as the head of entrepreneur media, as somebody who is closely connected with small and medium businesses, I should talk about what could possibly be. Now, recession, it's not a recession. It was not a recession that was because of a real estate property market crisis. It's a head-on collision that we've had. And it's not an easy matter to manage. I mean, a lot of small and medium business owners might be thinking in their head right now that, they'll go back to work once the lockdown is out and they'll work really hard, tirelessly, and make things happen. I know that historically the resilience of micro, small, and medium enterprises have always been very, very big. But I think this time, we cannot really sort of eat more than we can chew. So it's very important that we plan right now as to what could be our possible strategy going forward. Can you hear me, Venus? Venus,
Clearly.
am I audible? Okay,
you're absolutely clear.
Sure, thank you. So the first point that I would sort of like to highlight over here is that, what should be the runway of small and medium business? Now, how do you evaluate how much crisis your business could be worth and prepare for the worst? I mean, this is not the time when you can think that possibly this will be okay and the rest I could manage. Now that situation is not going to happen very soon. So prepare for the worst. Now, there are three kind of runways that I have thought that businesses would typically have. Now, there's some businesses who would be able to come back in, let's say, a period of 3 to 6 months, which could be business like salons, or could be something which is also very close to retail or essential services extended. So they would need some capital, which is probably immediate in order to run the business. Now I say that they have a V kind of a curve for their business, which is like down and then goes up once the lockdown is open. Then there are businesses which will fall in U category. Now these are businesses typically like your cinema halls, typically malls, real estate businesses, or businesses which you go for leisure, or even a lot of manufacturing businesses which may not come back. Let's say even luxury could fall into this category, or lots of other sectors. Now they will have a U curve wherein the kind of time that they will take to come back to normal and to be able to see an upward curve will take more time than the other businesses. And then there are, of course, businesses which will fall in the L curve. Now, what is the L curve? L curve means essentially, I mean, if I were to give you examples, I could think of hospitality businesses today, hotels. It could also be like export-based businesses or their ancillary businesses, which might not be able to recover that quickly. And therefore, they today need to have a completely new alternative plan. I mean, if it was an export business, if I were an export business, I would be thinking, can I do like a make in India or, make within the country for my own market instead of thinking for an export market. So that is something you need to prepare for. And based upon the business and its runway, you need to sort of make different action plans. Now, what I feel is the number one SME need today is the cash flow management. Now, if I were to roughly take a figure, then I feel that small businesses either have a cash flow which is somewhere between 23 to 27 days. And I think beyond that, it's a stretch for any small and medium business to think about cash flows. Now, how are you going to monitor them? What are you going to consider reducing in your non-essential expenses is what you need to figure today. Whether you want to halt your hiring going further, the large commitments that you might have, something that can be taken care of, and also not to make investments. Probably you had some small acquisition in mind. You may have to forego that in the coming times. I think also this is a good time now that we are sitting in the lockdown to take some stock of your fixed and variable costs. Now, if I were to give you just a ballpark figure, then the fixed cost will generally need to come down by about 20%. I know it's very hard, but I think it's all about sort of going and negotiating with your landlords, going and negotiating with your bank managers. This is now the time to pick up the phone and actually make that call and see how your fixed costs can come down. And I would say, or if you cannot, if they can come down, if they can, 20% can be done away with completely, that's super, but at least 50% can be deferred for over a period of 6 months. Now, in case of variable costs, they have to come down now, because particularly from an Indian standpoint, the lockdown has already been for over almost 21, 22 or 23 days, which is almost close to a month. So now small businesses are really going to start feeling jittery. So now your variable costs at this time need to come down by 80%, no less than 75 to 80%, because otherwise the business is surely not going to be surviving for a very long time. The thing to do is that you need to define what is your financial war chest like. Now, do you have finances which can sail you through for three months, 6 months, or an year is really what you need to fundamentally figure out. Now, it's easier said than done, but I can tell you this, today you're going to have to be very unemotional, extremely ruthless about how you're going to plan your business today. You need to create a list of priorities about ones that are really important, and you need to set your money aside for the time when you actually open your business. I can tell you this, folks, that the capital in your bank could be the only difference between you staying in the business and shutting down your business. It's as simple as that, and this is something we need to figure out. Now, I also feel that the lockdown right now that we are all probably going through, we have not had a serious cash crunch so far. I mean, our expenses were minimal. Most of the expenses were towards, ordering or eating food or doing some basic home expenses. But right now, our anxieties were not very high. Though we were fearsome about catching COVID or, business not happening or money is not coming. But now the anxiety period will really, really start for you, because you still have expenses to bear. Now, it's a little different for large companies. Now, large companies, when they will open up, let's say, and we don't even know if they are opening up yet, but large companies, once they will open up, they will probably, the first payments they will defer or probably say that we're going to do next year in 2021 is their vendor payments. Because typically in their case, the company is large and their vendors are small. On the other hand, for a medium, small, or a micro business, it's the reverse. Your vendors and suppliers are large while your businesses are small. Therefore, your power of negotiation with your vendors, your suppliers, your supply chain folks, whosoever you're dealing with, is not very big. So now is the time when you plan those expenses or something that you need to figure out how you're going to hold on to that cash that I was talking about. Now, the second thing that you need to figure out when it comes to your expenses is your manpower cost. Now, talent retention, understandably, is one of the biggest things and your greatest asset that you will have. So therefore, it's not a very easy decision to make. But nevertheless, I would say there are three kinds of planning that you will need to do today if you've not done it so far. One is, how many people are you going to lay off? Who are you going to terminate? And how many people are you going to send on unpaid or furlough leaves? Now, without this, your business is not going to see the light of the day. So please make this decision today. Now, this would also require you to have a very balancing act, because there are people are fortunately or unfortunately your greatest assets. But one thing you need to be very clear with to the people whom you're going to be working with and remain on your roles and are still working actively is, how are they going to work from home? Now, one of the things that probably a lot of businesses will do is figure out the people they want to retain and people they want to let go. But what they will not figure out, because of the fact that most small businesses are not designed to work from home, is the productivity of the people who are still there with you in the system. I think very clearly you need to lie down some goals in your business and something in terms of saying what is it that they are looking to do when they are, you need to set expectations in so many words for those people who are working remotely. Put some processes in place. And I think another thing you need to clarify as upfront as possible is that there'll be no appraisals this year. There will probably be salary cuts, and some people will have to go regardless of how much we like them. And you know, I do understand that most small businesses don't have a work from home kind of a structure. Nevertheless, this could be a time where you can put your teams in terms of working or either on social media or marketing, accounting, budgeting, IT, or whatever it is that your business was required to do. And you were not able to invest your time earlier into it. Mind you, this is also a time where, you know, your people have to learn to say yes to probably any work that comes along the way. You know, when you go to war, it's not as if you're a soldier. If your country is at war, you just become a soldier because that's what your government expects you to do. So therefore now, I mean, for a lack of better word, we are at war. It's a medical war. So when we're going to do business, we need to be very sure that people understand that there is no one work that is going to come along. Whatever work comes along, it needs to be done and needs to be done in record time and needs to be done well. We learn as we go, and therefore we are able to do that job. So very clearly, talent retention and talent policy is something you need to draw out very clearly today. The third point I would like to highlight is what is your, you know, before I sort of get to the third point, another point I wanted to make was that this is also the time when you and your existing team would need to sort of work around with your vendors and suppliers to negotiate terms to do business together in the future. Or you may want to find new vendors who can work with you in some better terms. You and your teams need to work on this, because once your business really opens up after the lockdown, you may want to figure out, or you may want to work on the more important areas of your business. And I think that one important area would be consumer acquisition and engagement. Because when you don't want to deal with all the vendors and suppliers and your bank managers and your landlords and try to get into a negotiation department with them once the business opens, you have a bigger challenge right at that point of time to be able to find new customers for your business and keep your business afloat. So right now, when there is of course a lockdown, you also still need to find out some financial sources of revenue or some money coming into your bank. Now you can be little creative about your sales and marketing. I mean, for restaurants, it could be a delivery business or delivering just essential goods if they have a small team that could go out and make some deliveries. Or it could be some low-hanging fruits that were always there in your business and you thought that at some point of time we could probably monetize this business, so it could give you some revenue. So you will probably need to think about some creative adjustments that you can make for your business. Could your warehouse, could your factory shed be a warehouse for some non-essential supply chain kind of arrangement with the government that you can do, or with some other e-commerce company that you can do, which is supplying essential goods today. These are all little things that you can sit and draw out. The fourth thing I would like to point out is that your business growth is not going to be what you had planned in probably December 2019 for the year 2020. It's going to look very different. So now please draw out new projections for your business, plan your business a little better, what you are expected to do next year. I would advise strongly that please make short-term goals. Do not think long-term goals. They're not going to help you at this point of time. Plan at least 3 to 4 months, a quarter at the best, and try to achieve whatever you have planned in that quarter. Align your resources accordingly, and therefore plan for the next quarter. Your next 7 to 8 months have to be planned out like that. Because if you sort of try to plan for a longer term, think of an acquisition, now is not the time for that. Now is the time just to go out, get more customers, get money into the bank. Money in, money out should be the only goal. I think also, the founder himself or the owner himself needs to take up a more hands-on role at this point of time, rather than only like what I call a managerial position. If you're good at sales, you're good at marketing, you're good at finance, IT, whatever, you need to get more hands-on into that role, so that you'll probably need less people. Another thing I personally feel is that whatever departments we think we can outsource or probably just let go, and retain only the important departments within our businesses, that would be extremely helpful for you. So probably a lot of contractual workers, a lot of freelance workers, and understandably those people also would not have as much work, so therefore you can negotiate better terms at this point of time. I know it sounds like a cliche, but please try to find a mentor in your business, because when you're going to try to sort of work your way around so much crisis management, it's not always easy. And having a mentor with you who's probably either running, somebody who's a veteran in that field, who's seen crises like of course not like these, but something on similar lines before, who can help you or give you some advice, it is only going to help you. A second opinion will probably be very useful for you, because a lot of doubts are going to come to you as you make any little or large step. My final point would be that we are going to look, particularly from an Indian standpoint, I can tell you that a lot of SMEs, I know restaurants, I know real estate sector is constantly writing to the government, seeking out for some kind of SOPs or some relaxations to happen. While the government is trying to do its bit, but honestly, to expect the government to extend $1 trillion like a Japanese or a British economy is probably asking for too much, and it's not going to happen. So what I would suggest instead is that SMEs come forward and help SMEs. I was talking recently to a very well-known Indian, sort of planning commission, ex-PCG person called Ritu Marya, and he gave me a very good example, which I'll share with you. He said, SMEs now need to create mini clusters. So for example, if you're sitting in one part of the city, let's say in South Delhi, and you running certain businesses, you need to all get together so the birds of the feather need to be together today. So let's say if they're retailers, they all need to be together. Or if they are running some kind of factories, let's say in some industrial part of the city, they all need to come together, small clusters like 50 industrialists or 50 factory owners, and see what are their strengths. Somebody might have a great warehouse, somebody might have a great accounting team, somebody might have a great IT team. They should pool their resources at this point of time and be useful to each other. It could be more like a barter arrangement or being able to help each other. This would dramatically bring down your costs and help you perform your business much better. So make your businesses OPEX light, and try to sort of build more collaborative business models going forward, because that could really help your business save a lot of expense in the coming year. Communication is going to be extremely vital. Please use a lot of time on LinkedIn, Twitter, to write to other people, to see that what could be possibilities of businesses that could be created. The power of your mind is really what is going to help you get out of this situation. So I would say, just don't think too much, go out there and pitch. I always firmly believe that recessions have always brought new market leaders to take birth. People who are going to take the biggest risk, fight adversity to their best, will eventually be the gainers and the new businesses that will emerge out of this crisis. So all the very best to all of you. I hope you have a great 2 days of this conference. I know each one of the speakers who are there today and tomorrow are and I'm personally looking forward to hearing all of you, particularly Brad, who's probably going to be speaking to a Indian Middle East audience for the very first time. So there's a lot of learning that is there. And thank you very much for having me here and listening to the few words of wisdom that I could share with you. Thank you once again.